everyone, and welcome to my channel. We are healing. My name is Kara, and today I want to talk about brain spotting. But first, I want to thank you all for watching. If you are watching, I really appreciate you. I don't know what the heck I'm doing right now. I just know that I want to talk to you guys and share my learning experiences to help everybody else grow in the same ways that I'm trying to grow. So, one of the things that is new for me is doing brain spotting. If you've never heard of this, I'm going to give you the explanation that they give on the internet because I'm still diving into the science behind it. I'm someone who really needs to deep dive into understanding things in order to apply them to my daily life. So I will be diving into this more, but as of right now, I'm going to use the internet to help me guide to tell you about it because I don't want to get it wrong. So, what is brain spotting? Brain spotting is a therapy that is used for trauma processing, trauma healing. So, brain spotting therapy is a type of alternative therapy that uses spots in a person's visual field to help them process trauma. It accesses trauma trapped in the subcortical brain, the area of the brain responsible for motion, consciousness, emotions, and learning. So basically, what they're saying is that when you experience a traumatic situation, or any situation for that matter, it gets stored in your brain, right? And trauma gets stored in a specific part of your brain. And I don't remember if it's the prefrontal cortex or I don't remember exactly, but I will get the information. It stores in the part of your brain that is responsible for motion, like physical motion, emotions, consciousness, feelings, learning, memory, that kind of thing. So that's where trauma typically gets stored. And so when trauma is stored there, it affects all of those other things that part of the brain is responsible for. So your memory might not be great. You might not be able to learn as well. Your emotions may be haywire. You may not feel very conscious, or you may feel like you're just trapped or stuck. This type of therapy was discovered in 2003 by David Grand. He's a PhD, as an advancement of his work in eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy, which is also known as EMDR. Grand had observed a client getting stuck in one spot. While staying in this one spot, Grand observed her going deeper than ever before, and brain spotting was born. So essentially, it's an alternative to EMDR, where with EMDR, you kind of relive the trauma. And with brain spotting, you don't necessarily have to relive the trauma in order to process it. So I'm going to kind of explain what it was like for me, and how this worked for me. I do also want to point out that this is something that is scientifically proven to work. Therapists do need to be trained and certified to do this kind of therapy. But I will say, from the experience that I've had so far, it is actually incredible. The first two times I tried it, it did not really... One of them, it seemed like I processed something from it. The second time, I got the whole tunnel vision part of it and really tuned in, but I just couldn't hold on to it. Third time was very intense. So let me explain what it looked like. For me, what it looks like is me and my therapist will do a grounding first. My therapy is on the internet, so, or not you know what I mean. I do it on Zoom. So basically what we do is we ground. Now, before this, the first two times I wasn't doing it the right way. So I'm going to add something in after the fact. So right now I'm just going to tell you what we did the first two times. First two times, I just grounded, and then I looked at this. She pulls a little pole out that has a red dot at the top, and she puts it at eye level, and she moves it back and forth, and she watches how your eyes react in certain positions. It is found that you store that trauma and your eye positioning relates to it. So your eyes will do something kind of weird in certain positions, and that locks into that spot that it's trapped in. That trauma is trapped in your brain. So I would ground, and I would just look at this dot. She would find a spot that she feels that I have something stored at, and she would ask, "What are you feeling here?" And the point of that is to tell her what you're feeling in your physical body. because our emotions directly affect our physical body. So just like when you get that bad gut feeling something bad's going to happen, it's just like that. It's your intuition. Your intuition is your emotional body telling your physical body, hey, this ain't right. So it'll give you some sort of physical feeling, and that's kind of your way, your emotional body's way of telling your physical body to protect yourself. So after the first two times, it was neat, but I didn't think it was going to work for me. But after the first two times, I had brought it up to my therapist that I would have a hard time staying into my emotional body and staying focused on what I was supposed to focus on. I think at first it was probably like self-consciousness not allowing me to fully connect, I think. So the third time she said, "Well, we need to have bilateral music on." I normally didn't, and she had mentioned it, but I never did it. So bilateral stimulating music, in your headphones, and then but low enough so that I can still hear her when she speaks to me through the computer. So I did that. And then she also mentioned bringing out a piece of paper, and sometimes people do better with doing this by having paper and pen that they can either doodle or write things or whatever, but you're still looking at that dot. So what I did was take a big piece of paper and put it on my desk so that I didn't have to worry about the distraction of potentially like getting off the paper and needing to refocus and all that kind of stuff. So I just got a big piece of paper. I put it in front of me. I did this with her, and wow, is all I can say. It was incredible. Um, I found some deep-seated stuff from childhood that really affects my current life that I didn't realize. And when you're doing this, like, you really do process it. And my therapist is wonderful. Um, and I broke down. I was crying while I was doing this, and a lot came to mind. Just for an example, it's gonna be backwards, but this is what it looked like for me. Okay, it's backwards. It's not necessarily for you to like read it. I mean, I don't care if you do, but um I just wrote everything I was feeling. If a color comes up, write it down. An emotion comes up, write it down. Um for me, I noticed a lot of tightness in my throat. And a lot of times when you feel that, it also is associated with the emotion of not being able to speak, not being able to be heard, being afraid to speak. It has to do with communication. And so my physical body will make my throat feel tight when it comes to something like that in order to kind of tell me, like, hey, pay attention. And so I realized that because I was feeling this tightness in my throat and what I was experiencing, it was related to the fact that I felt nobody ever heard me, that I wasn't able to speak how I felt without being punished. There was a lot to it, and I can go more into it if anyone's interested, but this is the beginning of my channel, so I'm sure there's not going to be many followers yet. But I hope this reaches some people because this brain spotting thing is actually pretty interesting. Like I said, I really did not think it would work for me because of the two first times that I just could not focus on it, but it takes practice. So I highly, highly, highly recommend doing this. If you are in therapy, ask your therapist about it. If you are not in therapy but you're thinking about it, find a trauma therapist who specializes in this. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do the brain spotting, but and I know it sounds like it was a bad experience because I was crying and whatever, but it wasn't because I worked through something deep, and I did not expect. I did not expect it. I felt off the whole rest of the day. I was forgetting to do things. And while that sounds like it could be a negative thing, it's not, because it's your way of processing and understanding. Now that it was brought forward, now you can think about it. What did that do to you? How did that affect you? How can you make things different? How can you help yourself to see things differently and to be able to speak without being silenced? How can you do that? And it's great. It's great. So try it out. Try it out. If you got any questions, I mean, you can ask me. Like I said, I don't know like all of the science behind this. I still need to look more into it and everything, but like I said, I mean, the science behind this is crazy. Here, it says how brain spotting therapy works. Brain spotting works on the therapy that feelings from trauma can be stuck in the body, leading to both physical and mental ailments. It is believed that the brain's memory of a particular trauma or incident is reset in the body and brain through brain spotting. He described this stuckness as frozen maladaptive homeostasis. Our bodies are generally meant to be in a state of homeostasis, attempting to maintain a stable environment, is what that means. But this particular kind of homeostasis is not helpful. Brain spotting accesses this and attempts to integrate the interrupted processing of the trauma. It is one of the few types of emerging therapies focused on the brain-body connection, including somatic experiences and EMDR. Traditional talk therapy is known as top-down therapy. That is, traditional therapy tries to solve problems with the conscious mind. These brain-body therapies are known as bottom-up therapy, which aims to release the physical stress in the body, thereby leading to release emotional stress in the body as well. Brain spotting therapy works on the midbrain, which controls the part of the central nervous system that are which controls parts of the central nervous system that are responsible for processing such as vision, hearing, sleep, and motor control. When trauma occurs, this part of the brain, typically goes into freeze mode to conserve resources for the body to be in defense mode. Now we're talking about fight or flight mode. This is necessary if you're, say, fighting a tiger, but it is less helpful for psychological trauma, but our bodies can't distinguish between the two. So this is kind of saying what you should maybe expect to experience. So I gave you my experience, but let's read this one. I want to read this experience and see what this is like, because like I said, I haven't read on this yet. So what a brain spotting therapy session may look like. Although there is a therapist there guiding you, much of this is self-directed. You will start with some relaxing breathing and possibly listening to bilateral sound. Good. Music designed to move from one ear to the other in the headphones. It's said that helps to balance out both sides of your brain. Once you've settled into a more mindful state, you will identify a place in your body where you feel the most distress and rank it on a scale of 1 to 10. With a therapist's help, you will then find your brain spot, or where your eyes naturally focus on when the physical discomfort is strongest. You will be guided to focus on the point of the pointer rod or the therapist's finger, and they will help you identify the spot where you become stuck and would like to work on it. The therapist may take either an outside window or an inside window approach. In the outside window approach, the therapist observes the client's gaze and recommends a point. In the inside window approach, the client is the one identifying the point to process. From here, you and the therapist will hone in on the feelings coming up as you stick with this one area of the body. You will then take some time to process the whole experience of what came up and what it meant. At the end of the session, you will again rate your level of distress. Typically, it will be lower than it was when you started. Some people report feeling a sense of release, either mentally or even physically, through a mild tingling sensation or mild shaking if you have the chills. Following this session, you may feel exhausted or more emotional than usual. Additionally, more difficult feelings may continue to surface. This is all part of the process, but if the feelings become too much to handle, reach out to your therapist or a crisis hotline if necessary. So brain spotting can help alleviate a lot of things. It's not necessarily just for trauma, I don't think. It says, though brain spotting therapy is primarily focused on discovering alleviating trauma, it can help many different types of issues, especially since trauma's effects are so far-reaching. Anxiety, attachment issues, substance abuse, PTSD, chronic pain, and major depressive disorder, which is there's many of things. In a small study, participants experienced a reduction in PTSD, anxiety, and depression symptoms within a few sessions. Other benefits: reduction in pain, memories become less painful, negative thought patterns are reduced, better sleep, and increased energy. The effectiveness of this, although research remains scant on the modality, one study found that brain spotting to be more effective than either EMDR or CBT therapies, and patients even continued to get better following their treatment being over. All other modalities showed patients' symptoms returning at the 6-month follow up. That's interesting. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. I wanted to share what brain spotting is. I thought it was a really interesting thing that I'd recently been learning and working on. Still working on it. Obviously, I've only done 3 sessions, but I will be continuing to do more. And if you're interested in hearing about them, let me know. Other than that, I hope this helps you understand something new, and I hope you all have a great day. Love y'all. Bye.